Good morning, Africa. We are live here at the 4th South African Oil and Gas Conference right here at Century City Conference Center in Cape Town. And I have just seated with the Executive Chairman of Africa Energy Chamber, Mr. NJ Ayuk. Please welcome back to Cape Town.
Thank you.
Mr. NJ, this year's theme is Enabling Sustainable Oil and Gas Development for Diversified Energy Future. From your own perspective, what does this theme mean for Africa's oil and gas sector?
It means the Africa oil and gas sector has to produce itself, but we got to do it sustainably in a very cleaner, better fashion. What we should be very careful is not have a match towards Armageddon that says you can't produce natural gas with so many. Don't forget, we live in a continent where we have 600 million people without electricity, 900 million without clean cooking technologies, most of them women. So it is not time for Africa to hold back and not move on a massive production of its natural resources to power Africa, but also take care of its people, like provide fertilizers, provide food. We shouldn't be importing food out of Ukraine. We should be using our gas to drive up agriculture and feed our people.
Value addition to industrialization there. How does the current global focus on transition to cleaner and renewable energy sources impact long-term strategies and investments of African oil and gas producers? And what role do you see for the industry in this transition? As you know, you have been one of the biggest champions of Africa when it comes to oil and gas sector.
I mean, there is a transition that people are discussing. But the question you have to ask as an African is that, where are you transitioning to? From the dark to the dark? I know you would say, well, but you would have clean air. But you could go around Cape Town or South Africa. Nobody wants to breathe clean air in the dark. People want to have jobs. They want to have opportunities. And to be at a time when somebody that has used the elevators to get up and then look down at you instead of passing the road, tells you that please use the stairs. That is just unfair. We cannot talk about a transition without talking about a just transition for Africans. Africans have to see that just transition that takes into consideration African issues. We are still less than 3% greenhouse gas emissions. How dare you tell somebody that's less than 3% greenhouse gas emissions that you're the climate problem? We are not the climate problem, we're victims. So if Africa today produces all this natural gas, our greenhouse gas emissions goes up by 0.68%. That's nothing. So we need to tell the industrialized nations they need to decarbonize while Africa needs to industrialize. And we also have to seek through a just transition. Don't wait on their promises. And you could see exactly what happens. The United States just came out a few days ago and said, well, just energy transition partnership with South Africa being canceled, $1 billion pulled away. You don't have credible partners that are going to go with you all these pledges. That's why you're going to have to do it by yourself. And it is the only form to go, and you need oil and gas.
Yeah. And NJ, they say that gas is the future as it is cleaner, richer fuel. Are African nations doing enough to promote it as a primary source?
African nations are not doing their best at the moment. They are seeing a lot of strangleholds on capital, as I mentioned during my speech. But also, one of the key things that African nations are not seeing is that capital has been our biggest stranglehold. Yeah. Gas is growing in Europe, they can finance it. It's not growing in Africa. It can't be financed. How do you tell the poorest of the poor that they cannot use natural gas, but then they still want to take that gas to be shipped to Europe to power Europe? That is fundamentally unfair. We need to produce every drop of hydrocarbons we can find. Wherever you find gas, produce it. You know why? That is how most of the powerful industrialized nations have been able to develop their economies. That is how they've been able to drive up civilizations, medicine, and everything. You can come in 2025 telling everybody in Cape Town, South Africa, that you should abandon your resources because somebody is going to give you something. Wakanda Forever is a good movie, but the Black Panther is not coming. You're going to have to do a lot of this by yourself.
And lastly, you are organizing the Africa Energy Week. By the way, it's been one of the best events. I started two years ago that I've attended. I think one of the most revolutionary events that I've attended. What are some of the exciting projects and what should we look up to for your upcoming conference?
First thing about Africa Energy Week is that it's going to continue paying homage to this city. It started in Cape Town. It's going to stay in Cape Town. It's not going to die in Cape Town. It's going to continue living. No, we're not going to Ghana. That's not happening.
That's happening.
We believe in this country. At a time when this country was facing COVID and everything, we started Energy Week because some other person decided that Dubai was the best place. We're going to be proud of our communities and our cities. That is the first thing, because we know when we do Energy Week, you create jobs, you create opportunity, vendors, and a lot of hotels here benefit. So we're not leaving, we're staying right here. But most importantly, what we're going to do this year at Africa Energy Week is that it's not just going to be a place for African energy dialogue and investment. It's going to be global. We're going global, baby. We're going to have to drill. First of all, drilling. We are unapologetic when it comes to drilling, because you got to be very careful. There are certain ideas when it comes to oil and gas that's been propagated to us that doesn't really resonate with our development issues. I'm very, very conscious of what is going on in most Western societies. But you don't get a young girl that gets up in the morning in a Western society with no lights, no food, no opportunities, but that happens every day in this continent. That's why we must pay a lot of attention to ensure that we have to look at African priorities, African issues, and that is what should drive us. So at Africa Energy Week, we're going to be very clear. We are going to ensure that we sign deals to drive up energy production. We are unapologetic about that. So we are already working with operators, be it some of the largest multinational oil companies, African oil companies, South African energy producers, because we are going to produce so much gas to get poor people out of it.
Poverty.
It cannot be that they say we need to just forget gas, we need to forget everything and energy, we can talk about hydrogen. I mean, hydrogen, like, who knows what's hydrogen? Nobody knows how this thing works. Or those windmills they want to push on us. The true nature of this thing is that we have to look at producing energy, and Africa Energy Week is going to be the home of investment, home of African energy, and I'm very proud. I'm very proud that South Africa stuck with us. I'm very proud that South Africa said, we're giving you an opportunity to build a world-class conference, and we have been able to develop that, but we must not rest on our laurels. We got to take it to the next level. So I can assure you this year's African Energy Week is going to be next level. Yeah. And that is my commitment to you.
Yeah. There you have it, NJ Ayuk. This year we are very intentional about the Africa Energy Week, and we are going to be supporting as media and investors. We are going to support. And for those that have not registered, I'm sorry, they have to register now, not tomorrow. Thank you so much, Mr. NJ Ayuk.
Thank you,
and
sir.
Thank you for what you are doing, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. There you have it.